So this time on 818 Custom Garage, it's the Little Guy Racing Parts Eliminator Kit. Welcome back, everybody. Hey, I think we got a really fun one today. We're going to show you how to take this Eliminator Kit and turn it into that. It's really nice. It's a beautiful kit. I mean, it is great. It can be used on both the Power Wagon and the Gladiator. Well, Power Wagon, Gladiator. We've actually got two of them. We've got one that I've assembled already. Figured I got a few little tips and tricks that might kind of help you as you go assemble. So in this video, we're going to focus just on the assembly of the actual chassis kit. And we're going to talk a little bit about, like, what's the reasoning behind the kit? What is it good for? You know, kind of the basics of it. So really, when Little Guy Racing Parts came up with this kit, it was, you know, it can be a really cool builder's kit, but it can also be a really easy way to give your Gladiator, your Power Wagon, that little bit of a good chassis upgrade, to give it a little bit more, I don't know, keep the scale look, but a little bit better performance. So in this kit, it really, what it does is it elongates the front half of the section of the chassis. Give you a little bit more wheelbase, lengthen the wheelbase just a little bit, gives a little bit more performance. What's pretty cool about this whole system is awesome, beautiful, amazing chassis rails out of billet aluminum. All the components that are plastic are all, I think they look like they're, I don't think these are printed. These look almost like they're injection molded. They are super, super nice. The arms, amazing, full scale looking tube arms. So really the principle around it was like, hey, this isn't going to be the line killer, you know, it's not going to slay every single line, right? Because it's still, it uses the stock center skid plate. So the idea was like, hey, let's take, you could have your stock Gladiator, your stock Power Wagon, you could take everything out of this, axles, you could take the shocks, wouldn't recommend it, but you could take the axles, you could take steering, servo, ESC, motor, transmission, rear drive shaft, can't use the front one, and swap it all onto this. It's really, really cool. Now, in this one, we're using the Little Guy Racing Parts billet aluminum center chassis skid, but it's basically a, you know, like a stock skid. So just figured, hey, for a couple of bucks, you know, let's put the nice billet aluminum one on there. It does flatten out the bottom a little bit, and it makes it so if you want to flip the transmission around and have, you know, rear facing or forward facing motor, you can do that without having to actually remove the skid. So let's get into this. We'll show you the assembly, and then we're going to get this probably on our Power Wagon, and we'll get this one on the Gladiator. Both are going to be slightly different on how we go build them, but really want to give you a good overview of how you assemble this whole frame kit and little areas to look out for as you go to assemble it so you don't strip screws and stuff like that. So and then it's really up to you. How do you want to build it? Do you want to move your stock stuff over, or do you want to put, you know, a brushless system in it, Super 8 axles, all that? It's set up to do all that stuff, and you can do it as you want to, as you go. You can say, hey, I want to get the frame kit. I can't afford to go do, you know, a billet transmission or any kind of brushless setup, but hey, in the future I'm going to save up, do some brushless setup. Now I'm going to save up, I'm going to do, you know, Super 8 axles. Now I'm going to save up, I'm going to do a nice servo, all that stuff. It is so cool. Oh, hey, I want to change up the shocks a little bit too. This thing is really, really builder friendly, and it's really friendly to the guy that just wants to get a little bit more performance, little cool scale look out of his rig too. So, all right, let's jump in. We'll show you the details of this kit and how well it goes together. All right, so let's get into this build. So when you purchase your Eliminator kit, there are a couple, you need at least one more thing. And I think really you need to get the front drive shaft too. It doesn't come in the kit because it uses a 51.25 millimeter front drive shaft. If you've seen what we did on our Power Wagon previously, we lengthened the chassis on that. You know, and we used some Little Guy Racing Parts. I believe they were the Ripper or one of the front arm setups, and we use this same drive shaft. Super nice. So it uses, you do need to get the 51¼ drive shaft. I also like to opt to get their skid. Figure, hey, if you're building a nice kit like this, you could put a brass skid on there if you want to. I don't know how I feel about the brass skids sometimes. I feel like they do okay for weight. But I really like trying to, and I've talked about this before, putting the weight as low as possible, so in the axle, in the knuckle, and especially if you can do like a low slung knuckle. So I think if you can get the weight under the center line of the axle, wow, that's where you make big benefits. So we did opt to do the front skid. We have our front drive shaft too. We won't show you, the installation of the drive shafts and stuff like that. This is really, this is gonna focus on primarily tips and tricks to assemble to get to this point. And then we're gonna have follow-on videos for both the Gladiator and the Power Wagon, where you can see the actual components that we decide to build into these kits and how they perform. So, but I'm gonna tell you right now, putting this thing together, I was super pumped. So you will need your trusty .050. I use MIP. Their stuff is the best, period. I always grab my 1.5 just in case I need it. I like having a pair of tweezers, good set of maybe some small needle nose, and then a pair of scissors so you can open everything up. And so let's get this thing open. Check this thing out because it is super, super sweet. And it's, I'm going to tell you, it is a very, very nice kit. All the components, packaged together. I was impressed. If you've done any of their comp builds, their comp kits too, very similar. You've got everything packaged individually. Let's look at these. Man, let's check out these rails. These things are so nice. They got the logo on it and everything too. Fully built machine. If you look, it's recessed in there, so your center skid actually goes in there and recesses inside, locks in place as you put the screws in. Super, super awesome. So I had to put my Little Guy Racing Parts hoodie on. I've thrashed that thing thoroughly because it's pretty cold out here in the garage today. So I'm sorry, throwing stuff around. You got your full arms, all four, all front and rear, upper, lowers. Comes with the pivot balls and the O-rings to assemble them. This is what I think is just phenomenal though. Okay, and I believe they started doing this on their comp builds as well. So look at the instructions. Everything is color coded. They have a full diagram of everything that shows you, how everything's put together component wise. And each screw is color coded. So the lengths of the screws are color coded. So, you've got both sides. You can see the arms as well. It tells you, fronts, rears, how they're oriented. And, you follow along. You can see all the screws and all the components, the plastic components and everything in here. It is super, super detailed. Really, really think it's awesome because when you look at it, if I can get this open, here's your hardware kit, right? Blue, red. They color code everything for you. Yellow, green, purple, and orange. They color coded out all for you. So you can see the majority of what you're going to use are these blue screws. These are 1.4s by 5. It looks like, yeah, I'm reading it upside down. So, and it's all individually packaged. So it's really difficult to screw it up. So what you can do is, I actually like to, I'm going to move, which is nice. If you got a nice mat like this that kind of breaks things up, you can follow along with your instructions. I put a lot of my plastic components over here, so they're there. put those with the arms. And these are the shock towers. I can get them open. Curse of having big hands. And these things are so nice. And if you look at how these are designed, the hole is recessed where you screw it in, and it locks into place on that chassis. You can see the section there, and it actually locks into place. It is so cool. Love it. So let's get this all open. Oh, the one other tool that you are going to need is a really small Phillips. These little screws that hold, they actually hold the fair lead onto the front bumper, you know, the front bumper piece. Those are a very small Phillips screw. So when we get to that, I'll show you that too. So, but man, I mean, everything is just so well thought out. So impressed. So impressed. All right. So now the instructions show you, you know, they give you the front and the rear, and you can see the way it's oriented. So the front has the logos on the outside. So you'll see front and that logo front. So they'll be just like, they'll match up. You got a logo on one side, logo on the other side. Super nice. So that's your front. That's how you know front to rear. So we'll get that on there. And then same with, so the shock towers. Let me go look at these just to make sure I've got them right. And you can just, you know, you can see how they line up. They're pretty similar in design, but they do have a few little differences. And you can see the outside section will have the recess for the hole to the countersunk hole to fit in there. So, and then so I just kind of like to lay them out. One other thing is I take the rear section, these rear injection molded pieces, where your bumper and all your hinge go onto, and I put them on there as well. So one thing I screwed up on when I did it was, my first thing I did was I assembled, you know, you got to assemble your arms. It takes forever. So we'll do that too. But when you go to put the skid and everything inside here, the side plates actually screw through, the screws go through the side plates and then into the skid. So you need that whole assembly, and you need the arms all done to put it all together. And I had it all together and all that other stuff. And then I decided to put on like the shock towers and these back things. Well, when you've got that whole assembly together, it's hard to get some of, like, these screws go in from the inside. And I totally messed them. I almost stripped them out, and I was like, oh man. So we'll show you first. The better way to do it is assemble all the components for each side, and then get it all together, and then we'll tackle the skid. So what we're going to do is we will take this first one. So there's two schools of thought too. When you screws into anything metal, aluminum wise, you know, a lot of people, some people use Loctite, some people don't. I do. So I am actually going to use purple Loctite when we go to assemble all this. So I'm going to assemble it without Loctite, but just understand I like to use Loctite because I think what I'm going to do is Little Guy Racing Parts makes a lot of, they make some pretty cool, oh, wrong one. They make some really cool screw sets, and you can, like, they have gold, black, silver. I think I want to put gold screws on this guy. I think it just look cool. So, so we'll get these guys together. The curse of big fingers with little tiny screws. Okay, so get your shock towers on. I don't get anything like fully tight. I get one started and then get the other one started, because sometimes, you know, you need that little bit of just slight, you know, movement to get the other one started. You want to make sure you don't strip anything out. So like I said, this is where I screwed up. I put these on after everything was assembled, and then when you got two rails next to each other, it's really hard to get them in straight. And I was like, oh man, I did it, but I wouldn't suggest it. So my suggestion is get these all on. So we'll get that guy started. Get these guys started, and they're so, I mean, these components are so nice. So if you look, I mean, there's your completed, pretty much completed assembled rail. The front has the loop bumper, so we'll show you when we get to that too, but you want to make sure, get your front and rear shock towers on, screwed in, get your rear section screwed in. So we're going to jump to the other side, go knock this guy out real quick. Okay, so we've got our two assembled side rails, right? So you want to get these assemblies done, right? And they should mimic each other. They look, I mean, the fit and finish on this stuff is impeccable. Little Guy Racing Parts always does a fantastic job. The quality is always top of the line. Their hardware that they provide with their kits too is some of the nicest that I've used on a lot of the different, you know, assemblies. So, you know, I've used stuff from Mofo, Maz, DBRC, you know, and a lot of those, some of those companies don't even provide, you know, hardware, right? They, you know, you can buy a hardware kit from Maz, but like when you buy this kit, it comes with all the hardware for it, which is super cool. A lot of the chassis kits, you know, some of them, like a lot of the carbon ones out there and stuff, they don't come with any kind of hardware kits. So, which is not horrible, but that's the one thing that you're paying you pay a little extra for with the Little Guy Racing Parts stuff. You will get some of the best quality in the industry, period. I don't care what anybody says. They are by far, quality wise, one of the best. Now let's do the painful part. Ugh, the one part that I absolutely despise doing on all these crawlers. Some come assembled, some don't. My thing is, I'm just anal with how I want things lined up. Assembling the pivot balls and the O-rings. Like I said before, I got big hands and fingers, and doing these O-rings is not the easiest thing for me. So, it drives me crazy. Oh man, but hey, it's part of the process, right? So pivot balls. I only run, I think on this kit I put the O-rings on both sides. On this kit, I'm gonna try, I want to see how it works with an O-ring on one side only. This looks like it's gonna get really good articulation, you know, from how these pivot and stuff. So I have, you know, like I said, I have O-rings on both sides. You've seen me in the past. I do the single O-ring on one side to give it a little bit more articulation. So I'm gonna try on this one, on this kit, we're gonna do the single O-ring to where we just have one in there, right? And you tend to get a little bit more slop. Some people like it, some people don't. It doesn't bother me at all. And depending on your shock setup and stuff too, it can affect that and everything. So we're gonna go single O-ring on this kit, and then this kit we're keeping the double O-ring, and we're gonna go. We'll run them together. We'll put them through the paces and the outdoor track, and then we might go over. We've got a couple indoor tracks too that we might take it to, and then got another. You know, we've got a lot of cool spots that I think we can take this out to. The area where we did the Little Guy Racing Parts sunset crawl, super cool. There's so much stuff out there to do stuff. This is where I'm so bad. Okay, so I'm gonna get all these together. We'll and then we'll jump to probably the skid assembly with the arms and everything, and then we'll move forward. Okay, so we've got our assembled arms. It's a lot easier when you only do the one O-ring. Man, I like it. So next step. So we are going to take our skid and our arms and assemble all of that together. Like I said, what's pretty cool is this thing recesses into here and actually sits in there. I mean, these rails are really nice. So cool. So you can't really go wrong. So all your arm screws, your link arms, are the green ones. So put green there. I can pick one up. There we go. This is where this can kind of be a challenge, sandwiching it in, so we'll do that. Once you get one started, it really starts to go together. You get that one started, makes it a lot easier for the rest, I think, personally. We'll see. We'll see if that all that all matches up with my thoughts, right? Okay, so now we are going to I'm going to put the rest of the lower arms in, and no tricks here. You just want to make sure you've got the little guy facing out, that way it looks cool. So the one thing that I really like about this skid too, using their skid, like I said before, you can, it's set up inside to where you can flip your transmission and motor around if you want it forward facing or rear facing. So that's a huge plus. You don't need to remove the actual skid and flip the skid. The other thing too is, compared to I wish I had the stock skid. Stock skid usually has a little bump that kind of sticks out here on the bottom for the gear clearance. And I've never really had a huge problem with it like catching or anything, but I like how this is pretty flat, through here. So I think it looks clean. They give you the adjustment and everything for everything. So, if you look, this thing's getting pretty close to that. So we got our arms installed, all this stuff. Man, it's looking really, really good. So we're going to get a few more things out here. Okay, so what's cool? This front bumper, right? Goes along here, right? It's super cool. Actually, I got it upside down. If you look, it's got dual mounting holes, right? So I'm gonna assume maybe the Power Wagon needs it further forward, probably. But what's cool is the spacing on this guy. You can run a Little Guy Racing Parts 35 millimeter light bar. So you could run, instead of the bumper, instead of like the winch mount looking bumper, you could run a mini light bar if you want to. So if you got something that doesn't have headlights or whatnot, and you want more lighting or whatever you want to do, you can do that small light bar as well. So I think on this kit, we may actually do the light bar. And here we have the winch mount. This one's going to be for the Power Wagon. So I think we wanted to kind of keep that bumper. The Power Wagon still got the headlights on the fenders. So I think this will be cool scale on the front of that grill too. So, and then the Gladiator's more of like, it's a newer, more modern body, looking body. So I think we're going to do a light bar. We already have the 60 millimeter on the roof. I don't know. We'll see. I want to get it on there, and then we may make a decision later. But we'll assemble this. I'll show you kind of how you assemble this and go about it. It's real simple, but you do need those really small Phillips screws. So we'll do that assembly first. And then let me go get my screwdriver. Okay, so really, it's real simple. Get your fair lead in there. Recess that in there. And try to get your tiny, really tiny screws. They are 1.2s. Little 1.2s. And, I mean, if you have a magnetic screwdriver, that'd be pretty cool too. This one, I guess I have the little piece to magnetize it, but I've never done that. Just get them in there. Give a little bit of pressure, spin slow, and they start in there. Just take your time on these because you don't want to strip them. They don't need a lot of zit. And then what you can do is actually they'll sit in there a little bit. So that is a little bit easier if you can. And they'll just slightly protrude out the backside, barely. I mean, barely. So that, and if you want to, you can assemble it in whichever hole you want. Like I said, I'm going to leave this off for now until I decide what we really want to do. And this just uses two of these blue screws and just bolt it on, right? So we might end up using this. I don't know yet. So next, you've got your front bumper. It goes on the outside, sandwiches through. It's got recessed holes. This uses the blue, like I said, blue screws are the majority of what you're using. So we'll get this guy started. There is your front bumper section. I have a feeling they'll probably end up making this front bumper section in billet, for the future too. But and I think they're also going to make their own billet rear hinge as well too. So pretty sweet. But yeah, this is awesome. So let's move on to we'll get the trays in, your electronics trays. You can see there are two different setups. This one goes to the front, so you'll see that edge goes to the front. This one goes to the back. The logos face down. So, all right, so we got our electronics trays in. Electronics? Jeez. Okay, so next up, we will do the front body mount. And it's pretty cool. They give you a couple options here, how you can do it. So you can actually do like the stock, and they give you a flat piece, so you could do Velcro. If you wanted to, I guess you could glue a magnet to that as well. This does have a couple different mounting options, it looks like. Or they give you a single unicorn mount to do a clip. And they give you the clip too. I can hold it. So you could drill a hole in the front of the hood, clip it on. I think for right now, I have this one set up to do Velcro, similar on that Power Wagon body. I don't want to put a hole in that awesome Power Wagon body. This one I think we're going to use the Velcro for now too, but if it depends, this one's probably going to get a lot of abuse from me. So it may end up getting the other piece. And then that one, if you decide to put this on, This uses the other two like really tiny Phillips screws to screw in there. But you've got to put this assembly in, and you can, it's got some height adjustment if you want to. We're going to put it on the lowest point for now. There are three screw holes. So what we're going to do, and if you look, one side is flat, one side has a recessed hole, so that's going to be towards the front of the vehicle. So these are going to use, these are green, these are going to use 2 yellow screws. So we're going to grab 2 yellow screws, and then this assembly, screws facing forward, goes in here to the front with 4 blue screws. So get him started. That is your completed chassis assembly, minus the front bumper. You want that on. So if you look, we got 2 of these. Man, look at these things. They are ready to go. They are ready to go. You know, you got a few extra screws. They give you the screws so you can mount like your transmission and stuff. You know, they're blue, I'm pretty sure. And then some of the, I think 2 more of the yellow screws go back in the back for the hinge, you know, to help with mounting the hinge and stuff. So, or you could use all your stock screws. Honestly, you could use all your stock hardware. These 2 screws that are on the back here and here, those are both blue screws. The 2 yellows that are here are for the actual factory hinge piece to the bumper. And then they give you blue screws to put the actual bumper on the body. So like if you were using their hinge assembly, which I don't think they've released yet, and I could be wrong. If you're using their hinge assembly, it may not come with the hardware, and you would use the hardware that they have here for you. So, man, if you haven't checked all that, I mean, it is a thorough kit. Super simple. Really love it. Really enjoy it. I hope this kind of helps you when you go to assemble. Shows you 2 different options on how you could set up your arms. You know, we got, I mean, these things, I don't know, they feel pretty good. These, I will say, you're going to get a lot more movement out of. So, like this thing, I mean, these are moving around a lot. So, but you do get a little bit of slop. You do get that slop in the body. So we're going to see how that affects things. Because this thing, I don't know. We'll see. Curious. If you use a really short, say, oil-filled shock setup, I would do all the O-rings. If you're going to try to do like some long friction shocks, I would definitely start off without the O-rings, or you could put the O-rings in, see how it does, and you could always pull them out. You could cut them out. You take a pick and just kind of rip them out of there. So that's an option too. So really hope you enjoyed the build process of this. Hopefully this video isn't too long. Please comment, like, subscribe. We appreciate all the support. You know, we've got a 10% discount code with Little Guy Racing Parts. It's 818CG10 for 10% off anything they sell. So you can go use it, enjoy it. It helps them. You know, I just enjoy their parts. I love the company as a whole. They're great people. I love, you know, what they design, their product, the quality. They're all about the craftsmanship and the quality. I mean, these kits are top notch. The comp setups, these Eliminator kits are so cool for the guy who needs to build in steps, but wants to be able to go use his stuff. You know, if you've got a comp chassis, yeah, you could steal a few things here and there, but like you might need to go spend a little extra money on certain things, right? This, you can, if you've got a Gladiator or a Power Wagon, right? You can go swap all your stuff onto this. You spend the money on the chassis and then the drive shaft. Make sure you get a drive shaft. You can go use the rest of your stuff and have this thing running in a day. So awesome, awesome, awesome. Comment, like, subscribe, share with your friends, and we'll catch you on the next one.